So I usually do my homework. I find somebody who knows somebody or something. They could give me some information, like who is it? Like, who is he? And Frenchie, they got me the tape. They got me the tape of his mother's house, where his mom's work at. You know what I'm saying? The other cribs, the studios, stuff like that.
That's the Cali tape.
Right.
Okay.
So this is the daughter of the ruler of Dubai, and apparently she uses controversial rule on
50 Cent Kid, the French Montana, just won't let it out. If the name of a French person surfaces on the blogs, the man has a troll locked up and ready to shoot. However, this is not just another little dispute. It led to a far more extensive conversation. French Montana seems to be steering clear of more than simply the industry's troubles. Something scarier could be on the horizon. The glittering cage of Dubai aristocracy coated in gold. On paper, it looks like the headlines are a massive flex. French Montana and the Princess of Dubai became engaged. It is worth an astounding $18 billion. The uneducated fan would think that French Montana went from being a youthful Kubo artist to a world-renowned kingpin in an instant. That brilliance soon gets congested, though, if you look past that glitter. French's alleged escape plan is said to have nothing to do with love. It's a survival situation. With Diddler still dancing about federal smoke and rumors that the authorities were gathering information on anyone associated with the infamous bad boy freak-offs, French needed a backup plan urgently. Dubai also seemed to be the safest course of action. Nevertheless, here's the kicker. Shadows exist even in paradise. People who are well-versed in Dubai's internal operations will be truthful with you. Yes, the towers shine, the cars sparkle with diamonds, and the wealth seems to go on and on. But there have been long-running allegations that some of those same royals had ravenous cravings that money cannot hide. It is insane. This disaster turns Hollywood scandals into Disney Channel reruns. Princes picking up gorgeous guys and Western celebrities being flown out for things too dirty to print are whispers that circulate. It took time for such rumors to emerge. As a result, people suddenly see French, who is known for chasing bags, throwing extravagant parties, and making friends with powerful men in order to get the next big thing, holding a princess in a $7 billion safety net. It appears that the math is a little too perfect. Not that anyone doesn't think he's capable of loving her. The general consensus is that survival was the main driving force. 50 Cent Shade has the greatest influence here. He is not merely referring to that flashy engagement ring when he says, French got bought. It relates to the idea that the French didn't stay away from the game. He simply traded one master for another. He ran from Diddler's Storm and ended up in a game that seemed too similar. The irony is that they still bow down to powerful, affluent men who are unaccountable. Hi there, everybody. Greetings. Yes, the French thought Dubai was the best place for him to go away. But if half the stories about those princes are true, he did not get away with it. He left the villain's fire and went straight into Dubai's blazing stove. The twist is in this place. Unlike the feds, who eventually reach agreements or move on, the Dubai monarchy plays for keeps. Because of this, the alleged $7 billion escape plan appears to be more of a glittering trap than a means of escape. French might have bought himself some time, but at what price? Now go back in time because understanding French's choice to relocate to Dubai requires first understanding how he became associated with the bad boys in the first place. French Montana didn't just pop it, seal the deal, and go on, you see? No, sis. In the vicinity of that signing, Betty consistently had an unpleasant smell. In addition, because of all the shit that has been hurled at Diddler over the previous 2 years, supporters are starting to distrust the past. This is what people fail to notice. While he was dealing, French wasn't some needy mixtape rookie begging for a chance. He had options. Roc Nation was circling them. Rick Ross and MMG were really interested. There was also a lot of flirtation from Kanye's team. But out of all those tables, French decides to sit with Diddler, the label known for questionable contracts, complicated arrangements, and those eyebrow-raising extra criteria. So why would a man with many golden tickets choose to be partnered with the most controversial player in the game? It was said that the agreement had little to do with music because Bad Boy was more than just a company. It was a whole lifestyle. And for some artists, that lifestyle was the real money. Diddler reportedly did more than just hand French a check. He made the wild freak-offs, the parties, the women, and those play nice and you'll get rewarded scenarios feasible. Interview 450.
Fans been side-eyeing it ever since. First, because French himself admitted he took less cash up front than what Ross or Jay were offering, yet still chose Puff. Second, because every time French popped up, stumbling out of those infamous villas looking half alive, the internet clocked it instantly. People started dragging up photos and clips.
Admirers have been sneering at it ever since. First, French admitted that even though he took less money up front than either Ross or Jay was willing to give, he still went with Puff. Second, anytime French arrived, wobbling out of those infamous villas appearing half alive, the internet instantly clocked it. From 2016 to 2019, people started to dig up pictures and videos of French people who were, to put it bluntly, exhausted. Because it always fell on those wild weekends when Puff was paying tribute to him. The story only grew more bitter once producers and former co-workers began, revealing what was truly needed to finalize deals behind those closed doors after Diddler's imprisonment in 2024. 1. Producers said that after he refused to take part in a freak-off, Diddler blackballed him. "Oh, so you stayed and took the deal," is the usual response when people consider French's rapid rise. We understand what that means. Is there a smoking gun now? What is the name in French? Absolutely not. But things are getting out of control. The very following day, Diddler offered French his own Kyrick French vanilla flavor after they were reportedly together all night. Then there is the viral birthday video. Both of them appeared suspicious, French shirtless, Diddler in a robe, and French himself admitting that he wanted the enormous bag, the only guy in the business with the courage to give it to Puff. From the street, it didn't seem like a normal label signing. He seemed to be a man willing to spend his own money to further his career. For that reason alone, some think he is running the same play in Dubai. Once you've shown that you'll compromise your honor for a chance, people assume you'll do it again, but with a larger bag and a new master. This is when the rabbit hole goes really deep.
But I'm sure there were some other ones also.
Yeah. I came to Steve Rifkin when I had Chopper Down. I walked in the office, it was him and Gabi. And Gabi was the manager. I was like, yo, Steve, give me $200,000. Let me go make music. You know what I'm saying? Just let me. Steve was like, nah, I'll give it to you.
Never got it.
Never got it. I dropped
Which is funny because Gabi's the president of SRC. Steve is like the CEO. But
yeah, so I don't know what type of
but
weird.
Steve makes the final call.
Yeah. So I asked for $200,000. You know what I'm saying?
Mid-2024, French Montana makes an appearance at Paris Fashion Week. ALLUGEDLY showing off a new attire and a fiancé. A princess with strong ties to one of Dubai's royal families, Chiara is not your typical fiancé. Baby, that's not your normal Bronx romance. It's an intelligent chess move. Because meanwhile, the feds were accumulating evidence against Diddler. All at once, the freak-off tapes, the trafficking rumors, the money laundering traces, and everyone around Diddler turned radioactive. They were subpoenaing or probing artists, producers, assistants, and even casual acquaintances. French, he was more than a passing acquaintance. He looked almost just like Diddler. The birthday vacations, the champagne endorsements, the unending cosigns. If prosecutors wanted a strong case, they had to bring up French's name. Then what will be his next play? He doesn't just go out of town. He becomes a member of one of the wealthiest families in the Middle East. According to reports, the Sheikh's family is worth around $18 billion. That's generations worth of oil money. That kind of money which doesn't even bat an eyelid at $7 billion. Furthermore, there are other factors to take into account besides money. It's defense. This type of power passport is novel. It's residing in a place where strangers are not allowed to meddle in their issues. Rumors that French is more concerned with survival than love are rife in the streets. The speed at which that engagement occurred, the way it complemented the American heat, and the fact that French people have been stuck in Dubai significantly more frequently than in New York or Los Angeles are all highlighted. It seems like a fairy tale romance gone awry to admirers. But to critics, it screams an escape scheme wrapped in Cartier and sealed with wedding vows. Keep the optics in mind as well. Every time French shares a photo of himself with his princess, he looks sharper, cleaner, and almost reborn. The comments are still haphazard though. Dude, you traded Diddler for Dubai or worse. You'd best pray those sheikhs don't treat you the same way Puff did, because here's the gag. The French think he gained prestige by fleeing to Dubai, but those who know the real power dynamics of Middle Eastern aristocracy will tell you that you can't always avoid a fire. You just walk into a bigger, sexier one. French is probably not interested in listening to this part. Running from Uncle Sam to the United Arab Emirates isn't necessarily the definition of freedom. Sometimes it only means that you signed a contract of a totally different kind. Skyscrapers, pet tigers lounging on yachts, and Lambo bosses are all obvious when you think about Dubai. But the whispers behind the curtain have been ugly for years. Influencers sneak in and spy around at palace events where guests are treated more like props than like actual people, after the tax-free glamour. Both males and women, allegedly, since some royals do not view foreigners as equals. They think of them as toys. And the fact is this: when you enter that world broke compared to their billions, you don't make the rules. They do. Now contrast French Montana's wealth with Shikamar's family's $18 billion. He's not rich in that room. He's ornamental. Even worse, he doesn't have much political clout. Shikimara, on the other hand, is the daughter of one of the most powerful autocrats of the modern day. French is famous enough to add shine, but he lacks the strength to defend himself if they decide he's simply another ornament. The relocation doesn't seem to be an escape from D at all, according to comments made by internet users immediately. They seem to be upgrading new handlers. The only distinction is that Miami's freak-offs have been replaced by opulent houses in Dubai. In addition, the French family he recently joined is already being investigated internationally. Remember Shikamar's widely shared Instagram divorce from 2024? The world was shocked when she broke up with him. 3 words regarding her husband: "I'm divorcing you." Such public defiance was almost unheard of in royal circles. Although it's admirable, it also highlights the chaos that may accompany royal life. When you include her relatives, like Princess Latifah's failed escape attempt, the shortcomings of that fairy tale image only become more obvious. The suspected abduction of Princess Hessa, allegedly orchestrated by their own father, the absolute ruler of Dubai and French's new father-in-law, instantly ruined the fairy tale. Because when that much power decides to act against you, freedom isn't guaranteed. It's gone. For this reason, the internet's reference to this Frenchman's $7 billion escape plan suddenly makes perfect sense. If the federal government ever comes after you, get residency, marry into ridiculous riches, and hide behind a royal shield. It is brilliant an idea. However, socially, it's similar to déjà vu. For years, French has been ridiculed as a toy for boys. Along with the shirtless lunches, birthday serenades, and psych incentives, there are more allegations than ever that he recently exchanged one sugar daddy for an entire dynasty of them. Habibis, the irony stings. Hip-hop marketed us French as the tough underdog. Moroccan grit, Bronx hustle, and Coke Boys pride. On the other hand, the Dubai royal family doesn't perform like Bad Boy Records. You are not superior, them. They don't appear awful because of you. And you don't outgrow your usefulness either. If even a fraction of those stories are true, French did not wander from a velvet leash. All he did was lock himself in a gold cage. As a result, he might be sitting on the stove in Dubai even though he might have escaped trouble in the US. The joke is here. The loudest voice bringing French into this mess is 50 Cent, but consider that for a moment. If 50 isn't a joke, what then? What if he's actually trying to warn him? People in their 50s have that big brother vibe, you know? The kind that grills you hard but wants to watch you eat. 50 has denigrated French for years, calling him washed and a D left over. Nevertheless, he might be aware of the trap. The trap that the French are entering doesn't look like chains, but it smells just like the velvet cages that people in Dubai talk about. But invert it for a moment. What happens if this isn't even a French trap? We say, damn bro, out here. You exchanged your soul for protection. But maybe this is exactly what he wanted. Some people, while some crave freedom, others seek comfort. And in a palace, a Frenchman might not even think of himself as a prisoner. It's possible that he thinks he's been chosen. The Bronx boy who hustled mixtapes and eventually got gold-plated security. We might call it hell. But it may be nirvana for him if there's air conditioning and a driver available. That explains the potency of 50's humor. Because their hearts are filled with truth. 50's whole reputation was built on his self-reliance. sense of self, and capacity to turn street toughness into business success. On the other hand, it's possible that the French made survival into slavery. But you question who's really winning. The man still defending his rap credibility, or the man sipping tea behind the palace's walls, impervious to scandal, untouchable, and covered by $7 billion in insurance? It's a mess. It's ironic. And that's the dilemma the French are currently dealing with. We see him as property, but he may feel like royalty to himself. That might be the last twist. Even though 50 Cent may be continuously dragging him, French Montana might be smiling the entire time because this might have been the initial plan. Please click like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications if you enjoyed this analysis. We have a ton of articles coming up.